Hi guys, my name is Jake and welcome back to Gax Reviews. So, for the first time on this channel, I'm going to be reviewing something. And what better thing to review than a brand new Netflix comedy show that just came out called Space Force. If you don't know what Space Force is, it's one of my most anticipated shows for the year. And you'll understand why I'm wearing this and why I got that mug in behind me if you don't know what it is in just a second. So before we get into it, I want you guys leave a comment in the comment section. If you have seen this, tell me what you think about it before you get in. And this is going to be a spoiler for your review, so don't worry about it if you haven't seen it. If you're going to be on the fence of watching it, I'm going to try to give you some of my opinions on what I think about the show and if you should give it a go. So let's get right into this. So Space Force is a new workplace comedy series that centers on a group of people tasked with establishing the sixth branch of the United States Armed Force, the United States Space Force. Now, like I said, why am I wearing this? Well, it's actually created by Greg Daniels, who is the head runner of The Office. And not only that, Steve Carell, who played Michael Scott in The Office, is back as Mark Naird in this show. And he plays another comedic role, which we haven't seen on TV in a while. And we haven't seen him since The Office on TV. And The Office, like I've mentioned, is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Just the mix of the hilarious characters and the crazy characters and just the nice chill situations, but they're just so funny and not the over-reliance on pop culture. And just Steve Carell as Michael Scott, just such a lovable, crazy loser, but you love him so much. And it's a fantastic show. So that repairing of Carell and Daniels together in a comedic role, which they heavily leaned into in the marketing as being made by the creators of The Office. So I was a little skeptical, but very excited to be seeing Carell and Daniels back together. However, I didn't want this to be The Office. Is this The Office in space like everyone was talking about? I didn't want it to be going in. I wanted this to be its own separate entity. I wanted this to stand on its own and not rely on the success of The Office. I wanted this to create with these all new characters and these all new stories and create a show that stands up to why The Office was so great and uses some of that charm and create its own new thing. And so since they leaned heavily into that being a workplace comedy and they leaned into that, I'm going to try not to compare it to The Office. It's going to be hard at points. I'm going to compare at some points, but in general, I did not want this to be like The Office. So now with this great cast, with this brand new situation being a Space Force office in space, does this recapture the spirit? Let's get into it. So first off the bat, like I mentioned, the presentation is different, which thankfully is. It doesn't have those face-to-face interactions like it did in The Office. It's more of a cinematic style. So the direction, even the camera work, is very well done. It's just completely different, and it doesn't feel like a workplace comedy, which is very interesting. Usually they have that specific charm, which Daniels has helped create. So he takes it a bit of a different route, which I enjoyed. And there is CGI, there is special effects, which are very well done. It's called Space Force. There's going to be space stuff. There's stuff on the moon. There's all that type of thing. There's a specific episode with a chimpanzee and a dog that are very, very well done CGI. And just in general, I've enjoyed that it was a very different layout and a very different presentation. I think that helped separate it a little bit. As well, this cast, you can't talk about the show without talking about this cast. You have an all-star cast. Ben Schwartz, who's had a phenomenal year, playing Sonic the Hedgehog earlier this year, and now he's in this, and he was one of my standouts of the show. He kind of plays a very similar role to Jean-Ralphio in Parks and Rec, obviously not to the same level, but he does have an extended role, which was very nice to see, and he kills every scene he's in. As well, the John Malkovich, he was phenomenal in this, and I haven't been a huge John Malkovich fan. He is just someone that's kind of on and off for me, but he's been in a lot of Netflix stuff too recently, but this is on the top of his most recent work. And I think his chemistry with Steve Carell's character of Mark Naird creates some of the best dynamic in the show. And talking about Mark Naird, so is he Michael Scott? That's the main question. I'll get this over with. No, he's not Michael Scott. Does he have some same elements? Yeah, he's got that cringeness. He's got that awkwardness that Michael Scott is known for. But he feels more rugged and he feels more grounded compared to Michael Scott. And he also does this voice that he tries to do. I don't think it works really that well. But yeah, he's not directly Michael Scott. He has that humor. He does want to make people better, but he's not a direct duplicate of him, which was nice to see. And I enjoyed watching Steve Carell play a different character. As well, Steve Carell with his relationship, he by far had the best arcs in the story, which is expected from a lead character. But he had a relationship arc with his family, not only his work, but his family. and specifically his daughter, played by Diana Silvers, who killed it in Booksmart last year, and I'm happy she's gotten more roles recently. Their relationship was very well done, and by far my favorite part of the show. But with that relationship brought some other complications with the show. I feel like the heavy focus on Naird, which was okay, took away from the background characters and the supporting characters. This was built and promoted as an ensemble role and an ensemble cast. Is this an ensemble cast? No. No, it's not. It fully focuses really on three main guys. It focuses on Naird. It focuses on John Malkovich. I don't remember their characters. That's another problem we're going to get into too. And Ben Schwartz. It focuses on their characters the most, as well as having Diana Silver's character in there. And Lisa Kudrow, who plays the wife of Steve Carell, is they do something very specific with her to kind of write her out of the show, but she's still there. And they don't explain it ever why it happens, and it's very frustrating to watch. And that leads me into my point that there's not enough from these characters. It feels like for an ensemble show with a workplace comedy and focusing only on a specific amount of people, it takes away from a dynamic that you could have had with this show. And it builds to when they do show stuff with characters, maybe 6-7 episodes in, you don't care at that point because you don't know why they're doing that. You don't know what these characters are. You don't know their motivation because there's 6 or 7 guys on the Space Force that you just don't know about. And you see them and they have lines and you're like, okay, why do I care? Because outside of Steve Carell, outside of John Malkovich, outside of Ben Schwartz, why do you care about these characters? They don't give you a reason to. And that's why was so frustrating about this show, because you know that Greg Daniels can do that. You know that that's what makes this show so popular. Parks and Rec, The Office. That's what makes these shows so dynamic and makes them so lovable, is these cast, these characters. And the fact that they don't do that here is downright frustrating at times. And not only to mention, they built this as a comedy. I don't know how they got away with building it as a comedy. I'm sorry. The jokes are so unfunny. And that pains me to say because I love these guys. I love Steve Carell. I love Ben Schwartz. And they're some of my favorite comedians out there. The comedy was painful. Usually when I watch these types of things, I want about a 70-30. So 70 successful jokes, 30 dead time or missed jokes, because not every comedy is going to make you laugh. You're kind of crazy if you're just laughing at everything. And this one, with its mature rating, which I also did not get, felt very... More misses than hits. A lot more misses than hits. I got probably 20/80, and that's not per episode. That's per the whole series. It just felt like there's a huge over-reliance on sex jokes, and felt like, oh, we can swear now, so we can say the F word, and it just felt like they were forcing those into the situations, and it didn't earn its rating. And for a show that was meant to be dark, with that dark turn that it did with the presentation, and it felt more mature, it didn't feel mature with its jokes. So it felt like it was just mixing some lightheartedness and the serious tone they were going for, and it felt like they were clashing each other because there is these over reliance on sex jokes that were outright forced and cringy at times, and it was just pairing that with the vulgar language that just felt mean and so out of place. And it's a political satire. We're gonna get jokes about politics, but I enjoyed that it towed the line just a little bit. But the president of the United States is clearly supposed to be Trump in the show, and they have so many jokes about him tweeting and so many jokes about Trump doing this, and it just felt very on the nose, and it felt very not something that you want to watch at the moment with everything that's going on with Trump. Not trying to pick sides right now. I'm just saying that it just felt very jarring, and it felt very like, okay, like we get it, yeah, and it just didn't feel like it knew what it wanted to be. And that's my main criticism of Space Force, is that it didn't know what it wanted to be. The balancing was off. They didn't do anything with these characters. And they felt like, okay, here's this serious tone that we wanted to do. Here's this serious presentation. This isn't The Office. This is doing this. But here's these jokes about sex and this joke about, oh, that's a woman. That's funny. And it just felt like it was clashing each other consistently. And not only that, the focus on Mark Naird and these two other characters completely killed everything else in this show, because you did not care about any of the other characters. Not only to mention that, it felt like a slog to try to get through, because each episode was very familiar and very formulaic, and it just felt like it was doing the same thing with trying to overcome a moral and practical challenge, which he does because he's a good leader, and it just felt unearned, and it felt frustrating to watch, and it just didn't know what it wanted to be. But you know what else show didn't? What other show didn't know what it wanted to be? The Office. Yeah, if you guys don't remember the first season of The Office, while it had some great moments, is not a good series of TV. It didn't know what it wanted to be because it had these clashing tones, and it felt like it was trying to be a duplicate. While this doesn't feel like it's directly trying to be a duplicate of The Office, there is moments that feels like they're trying to hone into what The Office made successful, but they stripped it down to such a level that it did not feel great. And that's frustrating to me because in general, Space Force was a disappointment for me. With this cast and this direction, I feel like it could have been so much better. Now, saying that, knowing what Greg Daniels has done with Parks and Recreation and The Office with the first seasons and them not being good with these characters, I'm willing to give another try with this show when it comes out because I feel like they could really figure out what the show is, gather what the cast element is, put them together more, and trying to create situations around the cast instead of focusing more on specific storylines going straight forward. And I know that's comparing it to other shows, but I feel like that's the only way that this show can be successful because they built it up as that, and then they failed to deliver it as that. That's just my thoughts on that. But before I give you guys my final score, I want you guys to, again, leave a comment in the comment below if you have watched it so we can have a nice conversation with it. But yeah, guys, Space Force, I got it. I can't go higher than a 50 on this one. It's downright frustrating that I have to give it a score like this. I really wanted it to be something special, but it just felt like it was cheap. It was unearned. It wasn't funny. Was barely laughing at it. And it felt for these characters that can clearly do so much better. And some great performances in there, but that doesn't save what could have been the next great workplace comedy. And that to me is the frustrating part. However, hopefully Greg Daniels pulls some magic out of that hat one more time and is able to deliver on a second season. But yeah, for now, guys, I'm disappointed. Again, if you have seen it, let me know what you thought in the comment section below. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. You can leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I've got some more videos planned out for this week. This has been my first full week at YouTube coming back. I've enjoyed every second of it, and I can't wait to talk about more movies and TV shows with you guys. But yeah, guys, other than that, I've been Jake. Thank you for watching Gax Reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one.